I can't lose this.
It is just the beginning for video gaming in Africa. Gamers have more than doubled in recent years. The market's untapped potential is immense, with many expecting it to explode as the continent produces more content. Until recently, gamers mostly came from the United States, Europe and Japan. But a shift is underway. Developers met at Africa's largest gathering for gaming in Cape Town earlier this year.
We've got a lot of those publishers who are coming here, they want African-made content, and so there's a huge opportunity. Now is kind of the best time really to be making games or trying to get into the games industry, because we're hoping in the next few years we're going to see a massive spike in growth.
Poor infrastructure and low connectivity have held back gaming on the continent. But internet speeds and access are improving. Equipment is cheaper. Central African Tedo Kosoko is paving the way for the new market. Since 2018, he has been creating games that tell the story of Africa.
For me, the future of this industry, and not only this industry, is in Africa. It's the new El Dorado. Centuries ago, there was a gold rush in America. Today, I believe this gold rush is happening here on the African continent, and we have to be first.
Kosoko moved to France aged 18 to study computer science and management. He started a studio in Toulouse, which employs 8 people. One of the Maseka Games Studio's creations allows players to use avatars of African heroes, like Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara, South African singer Miriam Makeba, and George Weah.
We must teach young people to love themselves, to value themselves. There is a huge problem with that. And for us, all this is at the heart of our creations. We really want people to deconstruct everything that has been put into their heads, that they are not beautiful, that they are useless.
Creators like Kosoko hope their games can eventually compete against those developed by the heavyweights of the sector.
Tensions between Algeria and Morocco have risen again after reports of a Moroccan airstrike which killed 3 people in the contested territory of Western Sahara. Algeria has claimed that the attack on a convoy close to the Mauritanian border was targeted. Although Morocco has de facto control of much of the territory, its claim to it is not recognised by the UN or most of the international community, although the US did agree to recognise its sovereignty in 2020 in exchange for concessions on Israel. Neither Morocco nor Mauritania have commented on the claims, and the killings could not be independently verified. Media connected to the Polisario independence movement reported an airstrike on Sunday. The movement that seeks independence for the desert territory is supported by Algeria. Morocco considers Western Sahara part of the former Spanish colony that included Morocco itself to be under its sovereignty. Algeria had previously accused Morocco of killing 3 of its citizens, and last August it broke off diplomatic relations with Morocco due to what it called hostile acts from its neighbour.
Guinea's former ruling party, the RPG, will no longer take part in the national conference. The party of former President Alpha Condé broke the news late Thursday as it followed through with threats made weeks earlier. To explain its move, the RPG cited the detentions of several party leaders, which it calls arbitrary. The national meetings started in March and are expected to last until April 29. They were presented by the authorities as a platform where political parties, youth groups, women's organizations and traditional leaders could discuss what the country's leader, Colonel Doumbouya, called a new institutional framework. The suspension of the RPG's participation lengthens the list of parties which have boycotted the national conference. In the statement, the party also called out the authorities for intentionally withholding information about the fate of the former president. The 84-year-old recently came back to Guinea after receiving treatment abroad, but it's not free of his movements, according to the RPG. Condé was overthrown in 2021 after a 10-year rule. A coalition that has fought him for months has urged the authorities to open a trial against the former president. Kenyan motorists endured yet another day of major fuel shortages with strict rationing at petrol stations. If the government blamed hoarding and panic buying for hours-long queues, on Thursday it pointed the finger at another player, namely oil marketers.
Some players have additionally been diverting cargo earmarked for local use for export into the region to further enhance abnormal profit. This government will not tolerate any entity or person that is causing distress, either by creating an artificial problem or stress.
The statement by the Energy Cabinet Secretary came a day after the CEO in East Africa of French fuel supplier Ruby was expelled. The company denied increasing its export sales to the detriment of the Kenyan market.
We have decided as government that this is not an acceptable situation and that Kenyans should not be subjected to a situation that we are facing today. In fact, in my mind, this situation can only be equated to deliberate efforts to sabotage this economy, which constitutes a capital crime in our statute books. Any entity that is not ready, that is not able, that is not willing to work within the framework of the laws of Kenya is invited to vacate this market promptly.
1 week after the crunch began and despite capped prices, there are fears the fuel crunch could see public service providers jack up the cost of fares.
Niger's president has welcomed German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, who is on a tour of West Africa. Mohamed Bazoum said their meeting focused on the very important cooperation between the countries. Terrorism, the consequences of the climate crisis, the food situation, education, especially of young people in Niger, were also discussed. The German foreign minister stressed that security is one of the priorities of Germany, which wants to continue to cooperate with Niger in this area.